Thank you, John. It has been said that hope is the ability to see that there is light in the midst of the darkness. We all have hopes. What are your hopes? Better health, perhaps a promotion at work, that your children get a good education? Well, in a different time, in a different place, people had different hopes. Imagine that you were an undernourished prisoner of war in a concentration camp in Germany. Perhaps your hope that day was food, that you would not get abused by the guards, or that you would survive the war. Some of those POWs were forced into hard labor. They had to go to the quarries to mine large blocks of stone. What were those stones used for? Hitler had this idea of building an immense radio station in Monte Carlo in order to spread the fascist ideas of Nazi Germany throughout World War II and for the hoped-for 1,000-year reign thereafter. It was a massive structure. He had this idea, madman that he was, he had an understanding of human nature. He knew that he had to use mass communication. Mass communication at that time, the state of the art of the technology was radio. With radio waves, one person could reach hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions of people. And he wanted to spread his propaganda throughout Europe at the time. Fortunately, the Allies were a little bit stronger. Hitler had to retreat from Monte Carlo. He left that station, which was almost built on top of a very sturdy bunker, but without any radio equipment there. The French realized the strategic importance of having radio broadcasts and completed that tower of that station after World War II. At about the same time, in the 1950s, there was an evangelist named Dr. Paul Fried. He was at the time broadcasting from Tangier, Morocco, a short way across the Strait of Gibraltar, about 15 or 20 kilometers, and then you could see the coast of Spain on a clear day. The Moroccan government had decided to nationalize all the radio stations in Morocco. That meant Dr. Fried had to shut down. He had to look for an alternative broadcast position. It's not so easy as just finding a new location. Radio is a strategic asset. Most governments had a monopoly over radio communications at the time, and Dr. Fried had to negotiate very hard, go through a vetting process, but eventually he was able to secure a contract to use this station for 10 years. How ironic that the station that was built by the Nazis to spread fascist propaganda throughout Europe was going to be used to spread the message of hope, encouragement, and eternal life to the people of Europe by Dr. Paul Fried and his friends under the banner of TWR, or Trans World Radio. From the new station in Monte Carlo, the messages went out throughout Europe and also across the Iron Curtain to those people who were able to listen. Of course, radio signals are not stopped by walls, which existed at the time. Now, from Monte Carlo, the network spread throughout the world. There are now probably 20 super-powered radio broadcasting facilities around the world. But what does Trans World Radio do? TWR has a particular heart for the plight of women around the world. As you will appreciate, women are, unfortunately, the underclassed, they're disadvantaged, they're not given the same opportunities in education, in government, nor to inherit property, and in some cases, they are also physically and mentally abused at home. TWR is compassionate about trying to help women in such disadvantaged positions. We have radio programs which go out across the world to try to alleviate the suffering and give women hope around the world so that they can at least live some sort of life under their particular cultural or domestic or political circumstances which would otherwise be intolerable. We have many programs. One of them is called Women of Hope. This particular program also deals with issues faced on a daily level. How to get food, what is nutritious for the children, what allergies should they watch out for in their children. Now, I was telling this story to a person who also has some compassion, some empathy, I think a word was used before, an empathy for the plight of women. That person said to me, "Barry, do you know what the problem is? Do you know what the problem is?" I was a bit taken aback. Any offers on the answer? Here's the problem. Men. Thank you. Football for the man. Problem is men. Problem is men. If you think back, most of the issues faced in the world, genocide, environmental destruction, political persecution, men. A comment was made by Jeremy before, things change. Yes, things change. Technology changes. TWR has used various types of technologies. Human nature. It's a problem. Abused women. Abused by who? Hasn't changed. Hasn't changed. We wear different suits. We have got new tech. Has it helped? A man from Mozambique challenged TWR and said, "You have to have programs for men. We men are the problem." TWR has produced programs to address the problems that are faced by men. Men have their own problems as well. Worried about their jobs, health issues, maybe they're abusing substances. That's not an excuse for what they do to other people, but they've got their problems. And TWR does have programming for men. Unfortunately, perhaps the men don't listen to the programs as often as the women. Apart from those big issues, we also have programs for children. Children are our future. In Cambodia, we have a little children garden program. In Latin America, we have a program, and for the Spanish speakers, excuse this, Pedrito el Pulpo, Little Peter the Octopus, to give some encouragement and some joy to children as well. In Africa, we also deal with practical issues like farming and health. The program called Foundations for Farming. We work with people who are familiar with agriculture and teach some basic subsistence farming skills and how to use fertilizers. The program called Dr. Luke has dealt with the issue of HIV and AIDS in Africa. You will remember a couple of years ago there was an Ebola virus, primarily in West Africa. TWR worked with the health authorities in the Ivory Coast and produced some programming to educate people about Ebola and how to minimize the impact of Ebola. Those are the regular programs that TWR has. TWR has felt a particular obligation to use its vast networks of broadcasting stations to assist where there are major human crises. Imagine, if you will, an earthquake, a tsunami, a typhoon. It's very easy to remember. Back in December 2004, just off the coast of Indonesia, a massive earthquake, 9 on the Richter scale. It triggered probably the biggest series of tsunamis in recorded history. 230,000 people killed in 14 countries, lives devastated. Haiti, 2010, Nepal very recently, also Japan, Fukushima. TWR has worked with health officials and psychologists in order to put programs together to assist people who are suffering from incredible trauma. You may have got an image of that with the pictures of the destruction in Syria. Apart from the natural humanitarian disasters, there are also disasters which are caused by political instability, caused by civil war. You would be aware that there have been waves and waves of refugees leaving Syria and the Middle East, heading towards Europe, particularly Germany, for a new life. We work with psychologists to prepare special programming to address the particular psychological traumas suffered by these refugees: loneliness, loss of loved ones, no prospects for the future. Where are their children? We have programming in Arabic, Farsi, and I think since I prepared this slide, also in another one of the Middle Eastern languages. So TWR is very practical and on the ground, doing things which we think matters to people's lives. So far I've been talking about broadcasting, radio. Jeremy mentioned there are technological changes. We have also moved with those technological changes. The app called Refugee Bridge is available to the Syrian refugees in Germany so that they can help to adapt to their new lives. One of the great things we've got at the moment, and it's really quite incredible, imagine, probably a number of you go out hiking, you're maybe 20 miles from where I'm standing here, you're in Sai Kung, in a rather developed country, yet no cell phone signals. Why? Not enough cell towers, not enough power, maybe interference, yet we're in one of the most technologically advanced cities in the world, but you can't get cell phone transmission. What did TWR do? We worked with a techno geek in Colorado, and he has helped us to develop technology whereby we can use our massive towers. These are probably 400 feet high. This one is in our station in Guam. We use that as a gigantic Wi-Fi router. We cast signals over the horizon, bouncing off the ionosphere, particularly at night. Those signals can travel the globe in appropriate atmospheric conditions. Those signals were picked up by someone, my cell phone, someone with a cell phone in Chiang Mai who was not on the Wi-Fi. It was not on the Wi-Fi. They pick up the signals, the imagery, the songs, all the different programming. Imagine if you are in the tech business. Imagine what this means. One-way communication, no Wi-Fi required. Maybe in a few more years, there'll be two-way signals. Buy or sell your tech stocks, I don't know. Anyway, TWR is everywhere. I hope through this little discussion that you have an idea as to why I, as an IP lawyer, have chosen to spend 10 years volunteering on the board of this extraordinary organization which can cast messages across the globe, across borders, reaching into people's lives, hopefully affecting people's lives. Imagine if you had that capacity, you had that infrastructure. What would you do?